Let us pray. As Canadians and as Albertans, we give thanks for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy. As members of this Legislative Assembly, we rededicate ourselves to the valued traditions of parliamentary democracy as a means of serving both our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Member for Drayton Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the honourable member from Wetaskiwin-Leduc, the Minister of Tourism, Parks and Recreation, I wish to table petitions from 178 teachers representing 10 schools in the Wetaskiwin-Leduc constituency regarding the Teachers' Retirement Fund.
To the member for Drumheller.
I, too, would like to table some petitions from 8 schools in the Drumheller constituency representing 137 teachers relating to the Teacher Retirement Fund issue.
Lloydminster.
Speaker, on behalf of 50 teachers in the Lloydminster constituency, I want to submit petitions on their behalf regarding the Teachers Retirement Fund, and also on behalf of the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services, a member for Barrhead constituency, from 6 schools signed by 131 teachers, all located in the Barrhead constituency.
Calgary McKnight, followed by Cypress Redcliffe.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I wish to present a petition on behalf of 6 schools from Calgary McKnight. These schools represent 112 teachers. They urge a favorable response to ATA Resolution 22691.
Cypress Redcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, on behalf of the honourable member from Lethbridge West and Minister of Advanced Education, I'd like to present petitions from Catholic Central High School, Mike Mountain Horse School, and St. Basil School in Lethbridge, related to the Teachers' Retirement Plan, and also from 5 schools within my own constituency, schools from 7 persons, Burdett, and Bow Island.
Panoka-Rimby, followed by Clover Bar, then Fish Creek, Calgary Fish Creek.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications, I wish to present petitions from 4 schools and 101 teachers in the Calgary North Hill constituency. These petitions deal with requests for improvements in the Teachers' Retirement Fund administration.
Clover Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to present a petition from 3 schools in the Clover Bar constituency containing 45 signatures. The petitioners urge the government to address the Teacher Retirement Fund, discussion of that matter and process.
Calgary Fish Creek.
Honourable neighbour, I am pleased today to present on your behalf Teachers Retirement Fund related petitions on behalf of 8 schools in the fine constituency of Calgary-Egmont. Those 8 schools are Alice M. Curtis, Andrew Davison, Lord Beaverbrook High.
Constituency out of order, just the number. Good. Thank you, honourable member. Totals?
There are 8 schools, Mr. Speaker, and in view of the fact that I received these documents only recently, I haven't yet been able to count the number of teachers, but it's a very significant count, I'm sure.
That comes under the heading of gotcha. Red Deer North.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the MLA for Red Deer South, the Minister of Family and Social Services, I'm pleased to present petitions from 10 schools in Red Deer South, total of 179 signatures, all teachers who are concerned about this particular topic in terms of their Teachers' Retirement Fund and are glad that the discussions are ongoing.
Additional.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
In this order, it should be Smoky River, followed by Rocky Mountain. No.
Present Bill 258, the Small Power Research and Development Amendment Act. The objective of this proposed legislation is to promote co-energy as a form of energy production. Priority would be given to those producers who demonstrate the ability to turn industrial waste products into co-energy, electricity, steam, and so on.
The honourable member for Smoky River has moved first reading to Bill 258, Small Power Research and Development Amendment Act. Those in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 258, Small Power Research and Development Amendment Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Paskowski, is now read a first time.
McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to present Bill 242. This bill is an act to provide for student representation on the Student Finance Board.
The honourable member for Calgary McKnight has moved first reading to Bill 242, an act to provide for student representation on the Students' Finance Board. Those members in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number 242, an act to provide for student representation on the Students' Finance Board, introduced by the honourable member, Mrs. Gagnon, is now read a first time.
Edmonton have any more? No. Okay. Thank you, clerk.
Tabling returns and reports.
Mr. Economic Development and Trade.
My pleasure to table copies of the annual report of the Department of Economic Development and Trade for the year ending 1991, and also the report from the Alberta Motion Picture Development Corporation for the same year.
Thank you. Provincial Treasurer.
File the annual report for Alberta Treasury for March 31st, 91, financial statements of the Land Purchase Fund for the same year end, and the financial statements of the Alberta Resources Railway Corporation, December 31st, 90.
Member for Calgary McKnight. Cal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to table 2 copies of additional petitions, 2 from my riding, 1 from Calgary Buffalo. This represents 67 teachers in my riding and 33 teachers in Calgary Buffalo.
Well, we'll examine the document, but at the moment it appears to be irregular. Additional filings. Thank you, clerk.
Introduction of special guests.
Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services, followed by the member for Drumheller.
Speaker, in the members' gallery today are 26 young people from Nerlandia School. They're accompanied by their teacher, Mr. Jim Bosma, and by 4 parents, Mr. Arnold Manninga, Mr. John Sherman, Mrs. Irene Baker, and Mrs. Saya Stridehorse. Mr. Speaker, they're in the members' gallery, and I would ask...
Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to all members of the Assembly Mr. Binks Remnant, the clerk of the Manitoba Legislature. Mr. Remnant is sitting in the gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I'd ask him to receive the warm welcome.
Redwater Andrew, followed by Edmonton.
Speaker, it's a pleasure for me today to introduce to you and through you to the Assembly 2 special guests from Kiev, which is the newly formed independent country of Ukraine. They're here on working with the oil and gas industry and meeting with the private sector on their privatization initiatives to see what private companies from Alberta can do in oil and gas and mine exploration. Veniamin Melnichuk and Yuri A. Belikaroff. They're seated in the members' gallery, and I ask they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Beverly.
I'm pleased today to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly the Clairview South Corvettes. The Corvettes are the Northeast Hockey champions in their division, won recently in a tournament. They are accompanied by their coach, Darryl Dingwall, and by parents, Mr. Showman, Jadwa J, and Mrs. Ratani and Mrs. Hunter. In addition, Mr. Speaker, if I may, one of the hockey players named Stephen Neal is the grandson of our Sergeant of Arms, Mr. Speaker. Stephen is an exceptional hockey player. He apparently has scored 4 winning overtime goals in a recent tournament, which the team won. We're, of course, delighted to have him here, and, of course, we're pleased that the Sergeant of Arms has such a dedicated son in the hockey team who perhaps Paul Coffey. I would ask, the members are seated in the members' gallery. I'd ask them to rise and now back to the Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege today to introduce to you and through you to the members of the legislature a prominent constituent of mine from the Kalmar area who happens to be the Kalmar Legion, and I'm afraid it would be a bad night for all of us if this Sergeant at Arms and our Sergeant at Arms were together, but he is accompanied. His name is Bob Pearson, and he is accompanied today by 2 lovely ladies, one who happens to be his wife, Gertie, and the other one is my wife, Jessie. Would you stand and receive the usual welcome of this house, please?
Mr. Statements. Question period.
The opposition?
Mr. Speaker, last fall I toured some geriatric facilities at Alberta Hospital, Ponoka, and frankly found it deplorable, Mr. Speaker. I saw the minister there at the same time, Mr. Speaker. But Alberta decided in 1985 that these buildings should not be used after 1990. A master plan was proposed for these facilities, but has not yet been approved. Now, Mr. Speaker, we find out that Alberta Hospital at Ponoka this September plans to start sending 65 mentally impaired elderly patients from southern Alberta communities they came from. The catch, Mr. Speaker, is that the communities do not have the staff or facilities to cope with these patients. That's why they were sent to Ponoka in the first place. My question to the Minister of Health. There is great concern among these communities, Mr. Speaker, and my question to the Minister of Health, why is the government allowed a problem identified 7 years ago to grow into this crisis situation?
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, I don't accept the Honourable Leader of the Opposition's judgment that a crisis has developed. Certainly we have approved may be the wrong word, but we have come to the conclusion with respect to the master plan and how we will be developing it in the Alberta Hospital Ponoka area. Certainly one of the goals that we've been working on over the past 5 to 7 years, following up on the very successful completion of the MICOSH report on long-term care, was to look at incorporating individuals, those with disabilities, into our existing long-term care system, rather than pulling them away from family and community into central locations. We are getting better and better at that. No patients will be discharged if there's not an appropriate place for them to be located in. And I believe the way we are working through this reality in Alberta is very commendable to the people involved.
Mr. Speaker, these are the people that are complaining to us about it, Mr. Speaker. Nobody's talking about deinstitutionalization not being acceptable, but there has to be support to do it, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, when I look in Lethbridge, for example, the seniors there already have to wait 12 to 18 months for nursing homes and auxiliary beds, Mr. Speaker. Now you're going to put this on top of it. My question to the minister is, how are these local southern Alberta communities, such as Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Claresholm, for example, to cope with dealing with these patients when they just don't have the resources to do it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is the same leader of the opposition party who told us that we were wrong to have facilities around this province for the health needs of Albertans. We believe very strongly in the programs that we have developed in Alberta. We are certainly working on ensuring that the placements are appropriate. Again, health has evolved and the reform of health is underway such that people that we formerly thought had to be taken away to central Alberta locations rather than be accommodated at home. That is evolving and we're doing better at it. We recognize the rising level of acuity. We have recognized the funding of a level of acuity. In Lethbridge, we have approved the St. Michael's Hospital to become a long-term care geriatric research center. The changes are occurring, Mr. Speaker, perhaps not as fast as all of us would like, but the reform is underway.
For the ministers to say, but you're dumping the responsibility onto these people. Let me just, Mr. Speaker, currently at Pinoca, they are in 35-bed units with a day staff of 7 nursing staffs and a night staff of 4 nursing staffs. Going to St. Michael's in Lethbridge is 1 nurse with 50 patients. And my question is, how are they going to look after these patients, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask the honourable member to provide me with the information that he has just provided with the House, and I'd be happy to check it for him. But in terms of the resources that we dedicate to health in the province, in terms of the support for reform, in terms of community involvement in ensuring that the reform takes place, I believe we've come a long way in Alberta, and certainly as I look in recent days and weeks at what's happening in other parts of Canada with respect to health system, I think Albertans can be very proud of what's going on here in Alberta.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Yeah. But I'd like to designate my second question, member from Edmonton Centre, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Minister of Energy admitted that there are major problems and substantial cost overruns with the Husky upgrader, but he refused to tell Albertans just how bad the situation is. Truth is, Mr. Speaker, that the Getty, Devine, and Mulroney governments signed this deal with Husky, giving them millions of taxpayers' money without any firm management control of how it was being spent. To the Minister of Energy, will he give his assurance today that the extra $46 million now needed by Husky will not be advanced until after the Joint Review Committee completes its investigation into what the full cost overruns are going to be and why this project, without even an operating agreement, has been bungled so badly?
Mr. Speaker, let me first say that the only person using $46 million is the honourable member for Edmonton Centre. I did not refer to a number, and I did not indicate that I would speculate on a number until the cost review was in. Mr. Speaker, we have put in place 2 initiatives to deal with the cost overruns and to delineate the extent of them. Mr. Speaker, this is an important project to the people of Alberta, and I should say that fortunately it wasn't the NDP government who was running around talking about shutting down projects when Syncrude went from a $500 million projection to an actual of $2.2 billion, Mr. Speaker. Point out that in the province of Ontario, I read today, Mr. Speaker, where the Darlington nuclear plant was projected to be $2 billion, and it's now $14 billion, Mr. Speaker. You talk about management. I think that they should look internally to their social philosophy, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, given that at the time in Alberta, when this mega project began, there was established a joint venture board, and given that one of the Alberta government appointments to that board is a good longtime friend of the Premier, Mr. Lloyd McLaren, who is also director of the Premier's Blind Trust, why is it that this original board oversight of the project, including Mr. McLaren, has failed so badly to
protect the interests of the Alberta taxpayers.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I challenge the honourable member to speak outside of this House if he is calling members, the 12-member board, incompetent. Mr. Speaker, I reject that suggestion, and if he firmly believes it, then step out the House and make that comment. Mr. Speaker, this is an important project to the people of Alberta. There are 13 million man-hours of employment in this project, Mr. Speaker. 2,700 tradesmen are being trained on the job. And as I've indicated, we have appointed a review committee to look at the detailing of the cost. Mr. Speaker, I just happened to find in my desk 83 copies of the Bi-Provincial Upgrader Socio-Economic Survey. And Mr. Speaker, for the honourable member for Edmonton Centre and his colleagues who are ignorant of economic impact, I'd like to file this with you for their information.
Wow. I think that's the proper time for tabling, Mr. Speaker, not like this. We're not denying that it's a valuable project to Albertans. We're denying that it's been managed properly in the way that the Alberta taxpayers deserve. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I remember the Minister of Health once telling members of the hospital board, she said, well, if you have problems balancing your books or coming in on budget, then the government will send someone to do it for them. To the Minister of Energy, why is it that hospitals and school boards at home who have cost overruns are told basically to eat it, but when a foreign-owned oil company comes along that has cost overruns, the government has millions of dollars to cough up?
Mr. Speaker, as I will indicate again for probably the fourth or fifth time in the last 24 hours, this project is an important project for people of Alberta. It will continue. Despite the wishes of the NDP to shut this project down, Mr. Speaker, it will continue. As I've indicated, we have faced situations where mega projects, when they are forecast, the cost of the project 5 years before completion, there is from time to time cost overruns. Mr. Speaker, I know the NDP would have stepped in and shut down Syncrude. Mr. Speaker, it has provided in excess of $1 billion in royalty to this provincial treasury, including to deal with issues of health in this province. This project will continue, and it will prove to be an important economic cog in the wheel of economic development in this province.
Edmonton Glengarry. Edmonton Glengarry.
You have to answer better than that if you want to be the leader, Rick.
Mr. Speaker, a bond rating agency in Canada has indicated or has provided information that indicates that since the Honourable Treasurer took over his portfolio as Treasurer of Alberta, debt has accrued at the rate of $90 per second. Alberta now has a debt approaching $18 billion. My question is a question that I have put to the Honourable Minister on a number of occasions. Will the Minister give us the details of the plan he has for debt repayment?
Mr. Speaker, the member from Glengarry, of course, is misspoken, obviously. I know he does not want to mislead Albertans and does not want to mislead the Assembly, but the amount of debt that he's referred to is far, far out of line. The amount of debt as recorded by the province of Alberta March 31st, 91 is approximately $10 to $11 billion, Mr. Speaker. Any number to the contrary is misleading. I hope that the joint research staff of the socialist parties would get together and get the numbers right.
There's only one research.
$3,150. Mr. Speaker, tick, 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 Dick, that convoluted answer just cost Albertans another $3,150.
Repeat it.
$3,150.
Dick dog.
Mr. Speaker.
Dick dog. That's the amount.
Tick, tick. Mr. Speaker, British Columbia. Tick, 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 tick.
Ticking on the clock. Sit down, please.
Honorable member spending his own time, just ask the question, please. Let's go.
The province of British Columbia hired outside experts to develop a debt repayment plan. Will the Honorable Treasurer admit that after 7 deficits, one coming up, that he should concede that he and his ministry can't look after and cope with this problem, and that outside experts should be hired as well for Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, it's interesting to hear the leader of the Liberal Party talk about liberal financial policies. Goodness knows, Mr. Speaker, what happened in Ontario during the regime of the Liberal Party there. Thank goodness we haven't got that sort of Larry limousine liberal attitude to the government of Alberta, Mr. Speaker. We would not allow that kind of nonsense to prevail. What we have done in Alberta, Mr. Speaker, is quite clear. The people of Alberta understand full well that we have used the very strong borrowing power of this province. We have used the economic strength of this province, Mr. Speaker, and we have maintained the highest level of services to the people of Alberta through a very difficult period. And over that period, Mr. Speaker, we plan in a reasonable manner to use a balanced amount of deficit, and we have presented that information here to the Legislative Assembly. We have not burdened the taxpayer. We have the lowest taxes of any province in Canada. And we are the only province right now, Mr. Speaker, that has real economic growth. Now, all of that, Mr. Speaker, is a balanced financial and fiscal plan, which is just as responsible as any plan in Canada. And the debt, Mr. Speaker, in this province, on a GDP ratio, is one of the lowest in Canada. If you take, for example, Manitoba, which had a socialist government. If you take, for example, other provinces, the debt to GDP is close to 50%. In this province, it's running between 12 and 14%, Mr. Speaker, and that's the good record.
Tick, 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 tick. Mr. Speaker, in 1987, our treasurer told us that by 1990 we would have a balanced budget. I'd like to know from the treasurer what year or what century Albertans will have a balanced budget.
Mr. Speaker, the only government that can present a reasonable fiscal plan and the only party that can get to a balanced budget will be the Conservative Party. I can assure you that, Mr. Speaker.
Smoky River. Smoky River.
Speaker, Alberta farmers have long been recognized as the... Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alberta farmers have long been recognized as having the best management techniques in all of Canada. In cooperation with this government, they have been able to respond in a positive way to build an industry that is indeed the strength of our province. In order to maintain this edge, they require information to establish and to continue making good management decisions. To the Associate Minister of Agriculture, do you have any new information regarding the 1992 index moving average prices for the gross revenue program?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the gross revenue insurance plan, as I indicated to the member last week when I spoke on this issue, is a federal provincial program involving the federal government in 9 provinces. The indexed moving average price, which the member speaks, or the target price or support price, which is the term our producers are more familiar, those prices are available now for the 1992-93 year. I would also inform the members that the federal and provincial ministers have agreed to amend the national agreement to use the 15-year lag period ending with 1989-90 as the basis for the 1992-93 year. This decision, Mr. Speaker, will result in an aggregate level of support increase for Alberta producers of about $58 million. The actual benefits of this program, this insurance program, will depend, of course, on market prices and assumes production levels of near normal to 1991.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Associate Minister of Agriculture, what's the status of the second payment of the 1991-92 program?
Mr. Speaker, for once the member may be right. The interim payment under the Revenue Insurance Program, Mr. Speaker, are being mailed at this time. And this is in keeping with our government's commitment and our commitment to farmers that they would have the second interim payment of their insurance before spring seeding. I would also remind members that 35 to 50% of that payment was made in late fall, and that this payment will bring the producers' level to 75% of the projected final prices, which will be in amounts of well over $100 million to producers in time for spring seeding. The balance of that, of course, will flow after the final prices have been established for the crop after the crop year ends.
Many families cope daily with the fear of losing their farms, and they, along with their neighbors and the many people in the communities they support, were very disappointed by the lack of action from this government with respect to their throne speech and their agenda for the coming year. Not so in the province of Saskatchewan, where the government was able to successfully negotiate a voluntary moratorium on farm foreclosures and recently announced a very creative leaseback program with private lenders. And my question to the minister, I'd like the minister to tell us what effort he's made, if any, to negotiate a voluntary moratorium on foreclosures with the banks, or indeed negotiate a voluntary leaseback with banks for farmers in the province of Alberta.
Right on.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member from Vegreville should very well know that the Saskatchewan voluntary moratorium, if you wish, on foreclosures had no impact on any that were already in action. Any ones where the foreclosure had started continued to move through. The honourable member should also know that Saskatchewan has a very serious farm debt problem compared to the Alberta one, and all one has to do to get evidence of that is research the number of farm foreclosures that have occurred in Saskatchewan in recent years, compare them to the very few that have occurred in Alberta. So it's an entirely different situation that they're attempting to respond to. Farmers over there never had the Farm Credit Stability Program, the $2.5 billion we put out in 1986 to restructure debt. They don't have the benefits of an ag development corporation to the same degree as Alberta farmers are, and Alberta farmers are handling their debts much better than Saskatchewan farmers.
Mr. Speaker, the question is about Alberta. It doesn't help families going broke in Alberta for the minister to point fingers at a neighboring province. And I'd like to ask the minister, pointing to the problems in another province is no way to solve the problems here. That is a creative solution. I'd like to ask the minister, is he saying he's not prepared to try and negotiate, like they did in Saskatchewan, a leaseback program for 6 years with farmers who are losing their land in our province?
Mr. Speaker, I would remind the House that it was the honourable member for Vegreville that brought up the Saskatchewan situation, not the Minister of Agriculture for Alberta. I would also point out to the honourable member that if he had attended public accounts and reviewed the annual reports of ag development corporations, he would know that farmers in this province that are dealing with ADC have arrears in excess of 1 year at less than 5% of our accounts, which is very good by any banking standards. He would also know that $2.5 billion of farm debt is through the banks, is tied in with government loan guarantees, and on the whole those debts are being serviced because our loan guarantees are not being called. He should know that fully 70% of all farm financing in this province is held at 9% or under. We have, with the Ag Development Corporation, after the review that was completed in 1988, a series of workout options that are used with any farmers to get into difficulties that involve home quarter buybacks, partial quit claims, short-term leasebacks, and I could go on and on.
Thank you. Edmonton Meadowlark. Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have all heard a great deal of tough guy political rhetoric on the Triple E Senate
reform proposal from the Premier of the province of Alberta. But, Mr. Speaker, everybody knows that Albertans already support the Triple E Senate idea. To the Deputy Premier, will the Deputy Premier therefore please tell us exactly what is his government's strategy for convincing the rest of Canadians in this country of the value of the Triple E Senate reform proposal?
Well, I thank the honourable member for that question. Puffball. Because he has given me the opportunity to once again explain that we in this legislature, and I valued his participation in the latter days of the discussions of the Select Special Committee when he came on to replace our deceased colleague from Calgary Buffalo. And I appreciated his support for the Triple E in those discussions. We now have our report. We will be debating it in the Assembly very soon. Members will be notified soon as to the date for that debate. Next week, there is another meeting of ministers responsible for intergovernmental affairs taking place in Halifax next Wednesday and Thursday. And at those meetings, we will be meeting with that report in hand. We will utilize that to work with our colleagues from the other provinces and with the federal government, recalcitrant though they may be on the subject, to persuade them that indeed the Triple E Senate, equal, elected, and effective, is being advanced by Alberta as an instrument of national unity so that we may strengthen the functioning of a federal parliament in a truly federal state. We will be taking that message everywhere in Canada, and I hope the honourable member for Meadowlark will do the same. I would urge him to write, phone, talk to, and call as many people as he can outside this province, as well as those within the province who we know do support the proposal very strongly.
Politicians talking to politicians. Ultimately, it will be individual Canadians who will make the decision about this reform proposal, perhaps in a national constitutional referendum, or at least by demanding one way or another some solution from their political leaders. Will this government consider enlisting leaders from across this province, Lougheed, Elton, Brown, members from each party in this legislature, to fan out across this country and make the case directly to Canadians to accept the value and the importance of Triple E Senate reform to the future and to the strength of this country?
For Alberta. The short answer to the question is yes, but I'm sure the member would be disappointed if I didn't give him a somewhat longer response. Indeed, we would ask all Albertans from all walks of life to work with their citizens of this country wherever they may be, in the territories, in the provinces, and particularly on Parliament Hill, to persuade the people of this country that what is really being advanced here is not a panacea for all this country's ills, obviously not, but it is certainly an effort which will be made by the part of this government and Albertans and Canadians to see that this country and the federal state functions as it should. It is not now functioning that way. And I would urge all Albertans to pick up their pens and write, pick up the telephones and call, and above all, let their members of parliament from this province know what the people are really thinking and to make them listen to the people of this province, as we have done in this legislature from all parties, and make sure that we indeed have that Triple E Senate. Because, as I said, it is an instrument of national unity being proposed to make this country function properly as a federation. Athabasca, Lac La Biche, followed by Edmonton, Jasper Place.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question this afternoon is to the Honourable Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife. Mr. Speaker, I have a copy of a press release dated March 30th, 1992 from the Liberal opposition indicating that the Improvement District
should be allowed to levy some form of tree tax for damaged roads and bridges from LPAC logging activities. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal opposition seem very, very confused because on November 21st, 91, the leader of the official Liberal opposition was quoted by the Edmonton Journal stating that we should not be building infrastructure in rinky-dink towns in rural Alberta. Mr. Speaker!
Shame!
Someone is speaking with a forked tongue, Mr. Speaker.
Shame!
Member, honorable member, honorable member, honorable member. Let's have the question, please.
Now, my question to the honourable minister is, will the minister give some assurance to my constituents in the Improvement District 18 and 17 that the LPAC roads and bridges will be the responsibility of the company and not the municipalities?
Good question.
Good.
Mr. Speaker, the practice in this province is that all roads and bridges that are used as haul roads are basically the responsibility of the company, and this is certainly the case in the LPAC case. There are roads in the area that are not company-built roads that belong in the ID, and there has been concern raised with respect to the maintenance of those roads. I must say, though, that to put a tax on trees is something that would find no support from this minister. It is basically the solution lies in the distribution of revenues and costs and not in creating new powers of taxation.
Mr. Speaker, my supplement is to the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs. Will the Minister of Municipal Affairs give some assurance to my constituents that we will work out an equitable tax system for the municipalities within the LPAC FMA area?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, pardon me. As I indicated to this Assembly last week, I believe, it is my intention to be meeting with the IDs as soon as possible. In fact, that date is set. We couldn't meet as soon as we wanted for other reasons. But I want to add further to this matter of tree tax, Mr. Speaker. If we are looking for ways to discourage more economic development in this province, then all we have to do is find more ways to tax more people and bring about that type of expense, and we will soon see that disappear. I am looking for an equitable distribution, but most of all, I will be looking for a way in the discussions with the IDs, a method by which one ID does not suffer financially because of what is involved or located in and abiding an adjacent ID.
Casper, please.
Mr. Speaker, I think we should all recognize that in this Assembly that the action by the two ID councils is at the end of a long, frustrating road for them in support of their belief that they get an unfair share of the burden of these benefits and very little of the benefit. They're fed up, quite simply, with a system in which the timber goes out of the region and the costs stay there. Now, earlier this week, the Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife said he was going to send his bureaucrats and the transportation bureaucrats, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs said he was going to have a meeting. But I'd like to ask both of them, rather than having bureaucrats and meetings, whether they're prepared now to address the fundamental unfairness of the distribution of revenues rather than more meetings.
Mr. Speaker, that is a very strange question, and recognizing that we recognize and are sensitive to the ID's concerns, and the Department of Transportation and my department are working with them, along with Municipal Affairs. Contrary to what the members of the opposition might think, on this side we operate as a team.
The transportation option involves more provincial government dollars rather than a fair sharing of the forestry revenue. My question for the Minister of Forestry is that the courts have said that this province needs a new forest policy. If they won't write it, it has to be written here. I want to ask him if this session he's prepared to address the demand for a community-based forest policy in which local communities share in the benefits, control the jobs, and in the environmental protection of the forests that they live in and love.
Another positive idea.
Mr. Speaker, I made a commitment in response to the expert panel report that I would work on developing an Alberta conservation strategy, as well as doing further work on a forest strategy. We have, Mr. Speaker, in this province now a great deal of public involvement. and we're working towards developing a framework that would eventually build into a conservation strategy and forest strategy. Mr. Speaker, I can assure the honourable member and all Albertans they'll have a very significant opportunity for input into that process.
Edmonton Avonmore, followed by Edmonton Goldbar.
Speaker, my questions are to the Minister responsible for the Human Rights Commission. Mr. Speaker, the Human Rights Commission recently established a temporary phone line to measure the extent and nature of discrimination against gay and lesbian people. But, Mr. Speaker, the line only operates from 10 till 2, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and there has been no publicity campaign to make people aware of the line. Therefore, the results may well be skewed and underestimate the amount of discrimination. Given that the results of this phone line may be used in determining the need to include sexual orientation in the Individual Rights Protection Act, will the Minister commit to increasing the phone line accessibility by increasing the number of hours it's in operation and by implementing a publicity campaign to tell people of its existence?
Another. Let's get consistent over there.
Mr. Speaker, it will be the members of this Assembly that decide whether that Individual Rights Protection Act is extended and opened up to include protection for those, as you mentioned. I take the information from the honourable member about our phone line. I would never have expected the Commission to have put that phone line out as the end-all and be-all. I do believe they wanted to facilitate a means by which those who are experiencing difficulties and in some cases extreme danger and in fact damage to their persons and reputations, for them to be able to communicate. It is not, for sure, the only way that they can do so, and the Commission itself has made it clear that they would be pleased to have them share their stories and their experiences with the Commission.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the existence of the line is really useless when most people that could benefit from its existence do not even know that it is in existence. Mr. Speaker, given that gay and lesbian people fear inadvertent or malicious disclosure of their sexual orientation, and that this phone line is operated by volunteer personnel, will the Minister ensure that those callers, that the volunteers who are on the line will be bound by the same rules of confidentiality that apply to other complaints to the Human Rights Commission?
That's an excellent suggestion, Mr. Speaker, and I will certainly urge the Commission to ask the volunteers to follow the protocol that's been suggested.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Solicitor General. The Minister has reaffirmed his support, Mr. Speaker, for programs to deal with family violence, including treatment for offenders. Will the Minister now go on record today to provide the Changing Ways program the funding they desperately need to continue?
Mr. Speaker, previously when the member asked a question in regards to this issue, I had indicated that I am waiting for her support as we move into estimates of the budget. When my estimates come up, I would like her to support the programs that come forward. I'm looking to that so that perhaps we can look at certain of these budgets. But there are some other departments at the same time that will be dealing with issues such as the funding of Changing Ways, and that will be the Department of Health, Social Services, and the Minister responsible for women's issues.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Minister, unfortunately, Changing Ways can't wait until we have the budget discussion. It's going to be out of funds the end of this month. It will be out of business this month, let alone next year. Will the Minister, Mr. Speaker, will the Minister guarantee that they're not going to be shut down?
As I just said, Mr. Speaker, I have responded to that, and we will have to go forward in time to look at the budgetary responsibilities that all of us have. Quickly, supplementary health.
the work of our Interdepartmental Committee on Family Violence, which involved several departments of government. We have a report and recommendations from that committee. Because of the confidentiality of budget, I'm unable to discuss further what we may be doing to provide dollars for those items that we outlined in the throne speech. But certainly as soon as the estimates are tabled in the Assembly, I'd be more than pleased to respond to some of the questions put by the member for Goldbach.
Lloyd Venstre, followed by Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gaming has certainly become a reality in Alberta, and last month the minister responsible for lotteries and gaming announced that the government is establishing a video lottery terminal network around the province. The establishment of such a network will undoubtedly require considerable equipment and hardware. And could the minister indicate the scope of material necessary to develop this network?
Mr. Speaker, I put out a statement on the 12th day of March which identified some 14 items that would have to be accessed from the private sector with respect to this program and implementation of this program. And in addition to those 14 items that were identified at that time, there are basically three other large-scale acquisitions that have to be made. One is a central computer system. Second is the electronic data processing system that goes with it. And thirdly itself is the video lottery terminals. We were going to be putting out proposals and have already put them out, requests for proposals with respect to all three of those areas.
A supplementary, Mr. Speaker, and my supplementary is will the Alberta suppliers be given the first opportunity to provide the necessary equipment and materials?
In the request for proposal that went out, was an international request for proposal. Some of these materials are not manufactured in the province of Alberta, but what we did write in is a qualifying, subjective qualifying phrase within the request for proposals that asked any entrepreneur to come forward and identify what their Alberta content would be with respect to these three matters that we did identify. Just out of interest, as of earlier this week, there was something like 35 firms worldwide that had expressed an interest in putting forward proposals for these three items, and half of those firms are located in the province of Alberta.
Edmonton Highlands, followed by Westlock Sturgeon.
Mr. Speaker, less than a year ago, the government was actively taking midwives in Alberta to court because they weren't covered by legislation. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, that last June, the Health Disciplines Board reported that midwifery should be legalized, and the Solicitor General at that time struck the Midwifery Services Review Committee. Mr. Speaker, they made their report to the Solicitor General on January 28th. We're already in the third week of this sitting, and we haven't seen the report. I'd like to ask the Solicitor General if he's prepared to do what the report says, and that is get on with legalizing midwifery, and will he table the report in the Assembly?
There are two questions involved in that, Mr. Speaker. The report will be coming in due course in the fullness of time, as has been said before. But I must say that the first report on midwifery had some very positive direction indicated in it. We have done a review in that, and the report came forth after extensive consultation with the various groups that would be impacted in there. We are at the present time studying that review of the report as it relates to health care dollars and programs, the changes that might be required to legislation, the changes that might be impacted upon education, universities and colleges, and also the impact that it may have on potential individuals out there that would like to be midwives. But as I said before, we will be bringing forth the report, and I will table it in the Assembly.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it seems to me that this is typical conservative secrecy. They get a hot issue, they build up a little bureaucracy, they go and have their hearings, they get the report, and then they want to put it on a shelf to let it collect dust. My question to the Solicitor General is this: will he live up to the commitment that made by his predecessor that this spring the government will sponsor legislation which will legalize and codify midwifery for Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated, we have done a great deal of consultation with various impacted groups throughout the province. I do believe it would be irresponsible to go ahead before we had a complete understanding as to the ramifications on our budgets, as to the ramifications of impact on our educational facilities. And as I said before, there is a group of individuals out there, very capable individuals, that are looking forward to a career in midwifery, and I'm sure they want to know the full impact of this review and report before we go ahead with legislation.
Ms. Lock-Sturgeon. Mr. Speaker, the question is to the Treasurer. This afternoon, or today, the NHL players announced that they'd gone out on strike. Mr. Speaker, the last time a group of Mr. Pockington's employees went out on strike, it cost the taxpayers $100 million in a run-down hog plant. Could the minister assure this House that we're not going to end up taking over a broken-down hockey team?
Mr. Speaker, I think the member's offside.
What do you say? He thinks the member's offside. Mr. Speaker, the last time it happened, we turned over the management to the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Economic Affairs. Could the minister assure this House if we do end up with a hockey team that those two will not be allowed to touch it?
I won't send it to the plenary box, but I'll recognize Dorothy McMahon.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, rural Albertans are about to lose high-quality library materials. So my first question is to the Minister of Culture.
Will the minister justify the proposed dramatic funding change to the resource sharing grants of Alberta's
regional library system?
Mr. Speaker, the government of Alberta has a long-standing and continuing support for not only local libraries, but also obviously regional library systems. We've established one library system last year. It's up and operating in the northeast part of the province. There's another on queue waiting to be established in the southern part of the province, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue to push ahead with the establishment of library systems all across this province. The ultimate aim being to have regional library systems covering every corner and every citizen. Mr. Speaker, with respect to funding, that's, of course, a budgetary matter. Budgetary matter, rather. But in the context of that funding, we do ongoing consultation with library systems, looking for the best possible way to fine-tune existing programs, spend the dollars in the best possible way. Mr. Speaker, that will continue. No more Zenith numbers, no more access to the main library collections in the province. That's the proposal. My second question is to the Minister of Rural Affairs. Will the Minister of Rural Affairs commit herself to ensuring the viability of regional systems by advocating on their behalf?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if I'm the Minister of Rural Affairs.
I think the Minister is responsible for rural development, so if it's addressed at me.
I think that the
issue of rural libraries is certainly in the venue of the Minister of Culture. And obviously all of the
ministers of this Crown and all of the government members support rural communities as well as urban communities across this province.
Mr. Speaker, in the last, we have opened with the support of the Minister of Rural Development and all members of the government caucus. I have opened personally 3 new rural systems headquarters buildings. We have established another one. We're buying a new building. There's another one about to be established. We've had annual increases to per capita operating grants, and I invite the member from McKnight to be here when my budget estimates are discussed, and we'll find out if all the panic she's trying to instill here is in fact fact. Orders of the day. Please, motion number 6, Honorable Mr. Stewart.
Leader.